been sitting here.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Item 2 would be public comments. Do we have any public comments? Okay. Item 3, award of contract. Renee, you handling that?
I am. There's a packet of paperwork there for you to take a look at along with a memo. We did this, it's actually been 5 years ago now. Went out for a request for proposals for maintenance, repair, and rehabilitation of wells and booster pumps. And so that we have rates, known rates, and contractors on contract that we can call on when we need them and not have to bid everything out every time. So we got 2 bids from contractors we've been working with the last 5 years, and that was Lane Christensen and Best Drilling and Pump. And based on the rates that are provided, you can see Lane's rates were lower than Best. Some things here and there, it's kind of a trade-off. Some, like with videoing, Lane was more and Best was less, but overall, Lane's prices were lower. So what we're recommending is that we go ahead and sign contracts with both of them, with Lane as the primary that we would call on first. And if they're not available in the time frame that we need them, that we would then call on Best. This worked out great when we had the earthquakes, and we were able to go ahead and call on, we ended up, both of the contractors, I think, ended up doing work for us after those earthquakes. So we already had known rates. So that's the recommendation that we are making. Let me know if you have any questions.
Yes, have you compared these numbers with what we've paid in the last 2 or 3 years?
I have not. I would assume that I would almost bet they're lower. Usually when they're required to, their costs have gone up because just prevailing wage rates alone have gone up. They go up every 6 months. So it's hard sometimes for them to hold these kinds of numbers for more than a year or so. So usually we can go up to almost, depending on how much things change, we can go almost 3 years with keeping these rates. That's what we hope to do. But no, I have not compared, like for instance, the rates the Best has been charging us for their work at 33. I have not.
Okay, but you have no problems with any of this?
No.
And are you looking for a recommendation from this committee
Yes.
for the board to approve?
Yes.
Well, I guess in that case, I would recommend that we recommend approval to the board.
Okay, I have a couple questions. That is loud. Going through and looking at them, Renee, and if you could go to bid schedule 1 for Lane and for Best, I have just a little bit of concern because if you look at the numbers, the mobilization, demobilization is a big number that's different, but Best also calls out what they're mobilizing: a pump rig, 2-man crew, and a service truck. So
That's common. Yeah.
I understand that, but if you go to mobilization from Lane for $116, we don't know what they're mobilizing with, if it's just 1 man, if it's per truck. It doesn't specify. And if you look, and so that changes the overall bid if we're not knowing, because the hourly rates on most are cheaper for Best for the workers in the field, taking in consideration a helper. It's $110 from Best, but it's $160 from Lane. Or there's a little bit of difference between the shop prices and the welder, but a crane operator is $50 cheaper an hour with Best than it is with Lane. And then if you go on down the row, there's like a $10 hour difference where they are more expensive than Lane on like the mechanic or the electrician. But if you get to the pump mechanic, which is stuff that we're going to need as a mechanic in the field, Best is $50 an hour cheaper for that mechanic. So overall, I'm kind of curious if,
It just depends what work needs to be done. Plus, if you look at the equipment rent rates also, there's a difference in the hourly rates quite a bit, actually. So that's why I kind of added them all up and took an overall price, overall cost. We've used both of these contracts and, wouldn't mind using either of them.
well, I understand that. I'm just confused because even if you go to let's go to Schedule 2,
Yeah.
the emergency labor, the mobilization is the big thing at the top that you come up with the difference, because if you go to the helper, they're $30 an hour cheaper on the helper. The machinist, they're $20 an hour more. But then if you get down to the welder, they're cheaper in the field, they're cheaper on the crane operator. They're cheaper on their overall prices all the way down for the electrician, for the pump mechanic, and all the way down, they're cheaper.
Except in the field.
The mobilization is gonna be the only cost, but when they're here working, their
there's a-
prices are cheaper than Lane is.
There's a huge difference on the actual equipment
Yeah,
on Schedule 3.
there is.
The thing is, it'd still be our option to decide which one of these two to call first, right? Or not?
It would be. I mean, normally we would call Lane first and see if they're available. And a lot of times, they are too busy and can't get a crew out, in the time that we need. And we would call Best. But
Yeah, I guess all I was trying to point out, if we've got two qualified contracted groups, we don't necessarily have to pick the one that we think in actual activity is going to be more expensive.
Yeah, I think probably one thing that we could do is clarify the, I got a call, the mobilization, because I think I agree with what you're saying, Renee. Usually it's standard that it's a pulling rig and a two-man crew and a service truck, so if we can clarify that, and as you point out, the equipment, there is a significant difference in the rent, hourly rates of the equipment, so I think that would at least compensate, if not overcompensate, for the hourly labor rates.
right.
Yeah, I agree. We just clarify on what the mobilization is. And some of these prices on,
A lot of them are
from
real
Lane
close.
kind of concern me on the equipment, because some of it's pretty cheap. I mean, I don't even
Does-
know how they could run a crane for $64 an hour.
Yeah, and they pretty much own all their equipment, so.
Yeah. So do I, but I can't run a crane for $64 an hour.
Big as Lane. You're not as big
No,
as Lane.
I'm not.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, they're owned by Granite now.
That doesn't include the operators.
No, it does not include the
Operator is
operator.
Above that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised at some of the lower rates. I really was that Lane put in there.
Well, I guess my feeling is as long as we have the option to pick one or the other, and we always have that option, I don't have a problem,
Okay.
but if you want to clarify something, that's fine too.
I can do
I would
that
just like to clarify
before the board
mobilization.
meeting. I can do that. That's not a
I'm
problem.
good with that.
Okay, before our board meeting on Monday?
Yep, I can do that.
Okay. So Chuck, are you going to go along with
will.
recommending approval?
I will. Okay, so we will move forward with recommending approval with you finding out what their mobilization includes. And I guess, would you mind calling Best and asking if their prices are operated? Because I could see their rates being that if it includes their operator on their equipment.
Yeah, it's not supposed to include that, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move to item 4, which is well 33 update.
Let me make a note here real quick. Okay, so Best Drilling and Pump came back out January 25th. They were here for 3 days, to do the fishing, what they call it, fishing the cable and the camera that got stuck in the well. They were able to get quite a rat's nest of cable out of the well, and they went up and down several times, down to the bottom and back, because Best with two S's had thought that there was more cable in there. But as it turns out, after we came back and did a video survey again, that there was no more cable except for a small piece still sticking up from behind the liner, I'm assuming attached to the camera. So that's not going to be, we're not going to be able to get that out. So at this point, we want to go ahead and swedge off the top of that liner. That will also swedge off the cable that's sticking up out of there. So that'll be behind the swedge. And I just got an update from Best about 20 minutes ago. They're still waiting on some machine shop costs for rebuilding the pump. So what I plan to do is swedge off the top, do a gentle with a nylon brush just up and down to get some of the junk off of the sides. Rebuild the pump, put it back in, and we're gonna go see what happens. We didn't find any breaches in the casing, in the liner, anything, so our assumption is that seal that was at the top of the liner was breached, and that was probably the source of the gravel pack and stuff we were getting out of there. So if it ends up not being that, then we're gonna have to reevaluate things afterwards and see what we wanna do, if we wanna keep putting money into the well.
Okay.
I should have a cost tomorrow for everything that we want to do.
So you'll present that at the board meeting?
I can,
Okay.
yeah. I can let you know how much that is.
Okay, so you don't need an action item on this.
No, just an update.
Okay, we will move to item 5. Oh,
So,
you have a question, Stan?
I guess I don't, assuming that we know what is going on down there, do we have a plan of action?
That is the plan of action, to swedge off the top of the liner. Then we're going to reinstall our pumping equipment and start pumping and see if the swedge is that solve the problem as far as the gravel pack coming in.
Okay,
Because we didn't see any other obvious source of the gravel pack except from coming from the top of that liner.
okay. And that would appear or seem to be a fairly reasonable correction or repair?
I think so, yes.
So that's good news, I guess.
If it ends up solving the problem, it is good news.
It is.
Okay, that's, right.
We can only
Better
go
new
with
well.
our best
It's cheaper than a
educated.
new well.
Yeah. Yep.
Is there a caller?
I don't think so. It's
Nobody calling?
No callers? No, okay, sorry. I just want to give everybody an opportunity.
I know you do.
You know, total transparency, that's me.
All right, thank you, Stan. Item 5, post-earthquake Cali OES and reimbursement.
Yeah, we're still waiting for that final payment. Once I contacted Cal OES, they requested that we resubmit the request for payment, which it did. So at this point, we're still waiting for a check.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any questions, Stan? I'm good. Okay, we'll move to Jason then. It looks like item 6.
The owner and one of their lead programmers, ATSI, passed away last Wednesday. So the company is in a little bit of a state of confusion, and we are still working with, his name is Ken, with ATSI on getting the finalization of the SATs. But we're probably still not going to be ready to present it to the board as much as we wanted to, just because of what's going on with them. They should have a new owner this week, I think.
All right, thank you. Okay, item 7, arsenic treatment.
I heard from PureFlow yesterday about getting a revised quote. He's supposed to have it to me tomorrow. Their fear is the changing price of steel. It's it seems like it's changing day by day. So the plan at this point in time is if you can get a quote and it's within budget to get the under drains built, get them ordered, get them on hand, and then, when time allows, actually do the labor portion of it.
Any questions, Tim?
No, I'm good.
Move to item 8, solar production.
Through January, so that would be, let's see, July through January, we had an actual savings of. Through January of this fiscal year, we have an actual solar savings of 32,162, which is below the guarantee of 35,792. Looking at the outlier here would be well 31. They did not, NG did not provide any information yet on why well 31 was below
I didn't
estimates.
twist it. Sorry. don't wanna break
And they haven't added well 35 site on here yet either, so we'll have to follow up with them to get those numbers. But, yeah, we're, actual savings for this fiscal year is at 262,354.
Tell them 35 wasn't on there yet.
Any other questions or comments on solar?
Is there something that we can contribute the last 2 months, reduced power generation to? Is it just the rain and the clouds, or?
Well, for this last month, January, as I stated, well 31, for whatever reasons, coming in below the projections. They didn't provide any feedback yet on why that is, so we're trying to get that information.
Oh, okay.
And that would account probably for $3,500 of that, which would put it at the guarantee if it were fully functioning.
Okay. But on a multi-year basis, they're still ahead, right?
They're still ahead, yes.
Ty, is well 35 included in the guarantee, but not in the actual? Is that possible?
No,
Okay,
it's not.
It's not. They told me it's not in here yet.
okay.
They were supposed to get it to me last week, and I haven't got it yet. So
Okay.
they call it a phase 2 report. So well 35 was phase
On
2.
35. Okay, item 9, future agenda items.
None here?
I have none. Staff have any? Okay, we will adjourn at 2:17.